My Lobster Magnet. Lobster's a 10, I told you grab it.
Welcome to Lobster Magnet's Review, the channel to review for Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. Jon Snow's Suicide Squad has finally gone, and we got ourselves probably another really expensive episode of Game of Thrones, and it was pretty good. It was a pretty good episode. I'm sure you've all been dying to know what my take is on this episode after every other pundit media thing has all, come forward to talk about it. And, it was a pretty good episode. I have a few mixed feelings, and it was interesting to read the reactions about what everyone else was saying, because people didn't seem to be in love with the episode as much as I thought that they would be. There seems to be a lot of divided opinions, and I definitely see those issues. We're definitely into sort of like fan fiction territory where, like, in one way I can embrace it, the idea of, Jon Snow leading, a suicide mission, beyond the north, capture Wight, and then having, a 5-minute sequence where they fight an undead white bear is awesome on paper, and the bear fight was pretty fucking good. And, seeing, Thoros of Myr and Beric Dondarrion, light up their swords like fucking lightsabers, it's really cool and fan-pleasing. But then there's the sort of sense that, okay, you've got a Suicide Squad. You could probably kill everyone with maybe the exception of, Jon Snow and the Hound. They were, probably the most important people in terms of, people who could survive. But, the only person who dies is fucking Beric Dondarrion. And it's really? You couldn't kill Thoros of Myr? Thoros of Myr has, that much of a role to play before the end of everything? Everyone loves, Tormund Giantsbane, but you couldn't kill him. Gendry just had to keep on living. This is a suicide mission. And it looks like the rumors were true. That whole leak that came out about, them going on a suicide mission and Daenerys coming in with her dragons and then the Night King killing the dragon with his super ice spear was all true. Well, you can't help but feel if Drogon just, turned his fire breath, a little to the right, that the entire central conflict of Game of Thrones would have been completely ended. And then there was also that really stupid sequence where Jon Snow, they have that false death. I don't know what the point of that was. Why he couldn't just get on Drogon's back while, Drogon was, burning up people. Everyone else is, getting the hell out of Dodge. But Jon Snow's I gotta keep on fighting the armies of the dead. I gotta keep on holding back there and holding them back until I get dragged under for another vague death scene so he can fall into the water. And another increasingly improbable thing to believe. And, of course he gets, saved and brought back by Benjen Stark, who I thought he was dead. Maybe he just rode off into the distance, but I was pretty sure that, after he, didn't he die when he was, trying to, get Bran to the Three-Eyed Raven? But anyway, Cold Hands, gets his final farewell, goodbye. I don't think many people were really looking for that. And, honestly, you could have just, cut to, Jon Snow on Daenerys' back, or, coming, somehow coming back to the wall, and I think everyone would have been fine. It was kind of, stretching believability. But probably the most emotionally satisfying scene, though, was, Daenerys, talking to Jon Snow, and now she finally understands, there's a bit of, story satisfaction in that respect, in the terms of, having, the big queen character, or, one of the, biggest, most powerful people, finally, acknowledge what Jon Snow has trying to been warning everyone for, the past 6-7 years about what's coming, and now she finally understands it's a threat. So now they just have to, convince Cersei, not that Cersei can do much of anything, but, convince Cersei to, get off her high horse and leave them alone, and now we've got the final endgame ready to fight the Night's King, and he's got, his undead dragon siege, so who knows, maybe this episode we're going to see this Sunday will have him, break through the wall. Because as of right now, the, army of the Night's King doesn't seem to have a way to, cross the wall. Even though they keep on threatening that they're going to do it somehow. I don't know, maybe all the dead people are going to, climb up it. I mean, if the fucking wildlings can climb up it, why not the dead people? And apparently, the Night King has heat-seeking fucking ice spears that can kill dragons, so, that's a big loss. But then again, we knew that, Daenerys wasn't going to make it through all of this with all 3 dragons intact. And who knows, maybe that'll convince other people, that that the Night King is real and a threat to be taken seriously, given the fact that, like, losing one dragon is a huge loss to her, and, you know, you can't, like, hide or lie about that. It's a pretty unmistakable fact. But, you know, overall I enjoyed it. It was a well put together episode, a lot of great action sequences. A lot of people also seem to hate the Arya-Sansa storyline. And to me, it does feel a little artificial, like, you know, there's this big conflict between the two that's sort of reigniting the central tensions that lay between them from the beginning of the series. You'd like to think that, like, all the murder and rape and awful scenarios that they've been put through as they've each kind of gotten the monkey's paw version of, like, what they thought they wanted would, like, make them, you know, be able to look past it, given all the shit that they have. So it does feel a little bit forced, especially when Sansa sees, like, the super rubbery masks, and Arya threatens to, like, rip Sansa's mask off so she can take control of Winterfell. And it feels like they're playing in Littlefinger's hands a little bit too easily. But, you know, it's also kind of funny that, like, Sansa's, like, the only one who doesn't have a Stark superpower. Jon, you know, is brought back from the dead. He has a Valyrian sword that can destroy White Walkers. Bran has the foresight of the three-eyed raven. Sansa has the nothing, and Arya has the ability to, like, you know, switch out her faces and become anything and anyone. And poor Sansa doesn't have a superpower, so sorry, Sansa. You just have the, you know, I guess the power of hotness and wanting Littlefinger to creep on you, and I guess that's a superpower. But hopefully this is, like, something that we won't dwell on too much, because it doesn't feel like... It feels a little bit more like spinning wheels. And then, of course, we're all waiting to see what the fuck Euron Greyjoy does, given that he was, like, introduced so prominently. And it's been largely just kind of, like, left at the sidelines and, you know, off to the side. And we're never, ever, ever gonna... We'll probably see him at some point, but it does feel like after his build-up and his, like, quick introduction that it's, like, funny that he's, like, in the last 3-4 episodes, he's completely gone and away from everything. But, you know, got an exciting episode. We're finally, like, gonna have all the major players step together in, like, a big meeting, and it's supposedly, like, one of the longest episodes ever produced for the series. It's, like, close to 80 minutes. It's like a mini movie. So we'll see if we get any big action sequences. It feels like it's all gonna be diplomacy, but then again, we do have that dragon wight, so who knows? Maybe we'll see that scene where it, like, burns down the wall with, like, icy fire breath now that the Night King has his fucking flying mount. Or who knows? Maybe the Night King plans to, like, do aerial bombardments where he, like, has, like, undead people, like, riding on the dragon, and he just, like, air bombs them in Winterfell. That would be kind of badass and amazing way to end the season, where, like, the Night King finally, like, takes claim to Westeros, and then Jon Snow has to, like, lead a force to reclaim Winterfell from the undead. And, you know, given the fact that we're in, like, such fantasy territory, and, like, you know, we've gone to full pulp. They're fighting undead animals, they're riding dragons, dragons are fighting armies of skeletons, like, Jesus Christ, like, could you believe if you went back, like, 10 years and told someone that, like, you know, oh, HBO, the fucking channel that, like, Tony Soprano built, that has all the great dramas and high sophisticated television, would feature, like, basically what's the 90s equivalent of, like, Hercules' legendary journey. Obviously it's much more classy than that, but, like, you know, the pulp elements we're seeing are on par of the stuff you'd see in, like, Xena Warrior Princess or Hercules. You know, they would, like, you know, say that you're a lying liar and you are completely out of your mind, but here we are. Now HBO's most popular series has fucking undead skeletons and flying dragons. And, you know, who knows? Maybe the world is better for it. You know, it's giving us Westworld. We're seeing, like, more and more people all want their own Game of Thrones, so more challenging material is being produced because everyone is, like, going after that high. And we are living in a renaissance where, like, all the nerdy, dopey shit that was, like, frowned upon or always considered to be B-grade is now, like, you know, blockbuster entertainment that's consumed around the world. And who knows if this is ever gonna, like, burst or just be popped. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, so far, too much of it is being successful, too much of it is good to, like, you know, kill the rest of it. So it's going to be a while before the paradigm shifts again to, like, I don't know, something else. But, you know, this was a fun episode. You know, of course, I have my complaints about, like, you know, like how much time passed between like Gendry sending out his raven and Daenerys like finding out, and then everyone is like Skyrim fast travel. But I guess it just does make more and more engaging storylines. Like Tyrion spending an entire book traveling to get to Daenerys isn't as satisfying as him actually getting to talk to Daenerys, which is what we're getting. So that's the trade-off that we get. So. Anything that makes for a more engaging storyline is better. So I guess I will, I think I'd give this episode an 8. It was a really good, engaging, high special effects, fun, and seeing all the like various people in Jon's Suicide Squad interact with each other was a lot of fun, given the fact that they have like so much shared history and animosity towards each other. Especially, like, fucking... the Hound in Tormund Giantsbane was, like, pure gold. Where, like, the Hound... Tormund Giantsbane is like, oh, there's a blonde beauty waiting for me, and then when I make children with her, we're gonna have children, they'll conquer the world. And the Hound is just laughing. Are you talking about Brienne of Tarth? And he's like, ha ha ha, good luck with that. Which is... just a great sequence. And it's nice to see that, like, this shared history is, like, starting to come into play, because like one of the problems with the books is that it just keeps on sprawling out, more characters are introduced, and it just becomes this incredible canvas of convoluted stuff that just never ends. And I think I'm going to make a short little video essay discussing that. It's the reason why George R. R. Martin hasn't finished the fucking books. So it's nice to see that like things are being more condensed, and the writing staff and the showrunners of Game of Thrones are like taking advantage of that shared history that exists between all the characters now that they're within closer proximity. Versus, fucking Winds of Winter, where we still have Stannis Baratheon alive, and we have the Martells, and we have all these conflicting figurines, and we've got the Dothraki, and, then there's the Battle of Meereen, where all the slavers are coming in, and Barristan Selmy's leading a charge, and Tyrion's there trying to find Daenerys, and who doesn't know... Oh yeah, and then there's Victorian Greyjoy, who wasn't even in the TV show, and he's, like, coming to get Daenerys so he can take her away from his brother Euron, who wants to marry her, and it's this huge clusterfuck with, like, 5 bajillion characters, and you don't need half of them, and it just doesn't feel like it's anywhere close to resolving, versus now where, despite the fact we're getting maybe, like, the Channel 11 Hercules the Legendary Journey version of Game of Thrones, it still is satisfying. So I give this an 8 out of 10. There's still, I guess those nitpicks are kind of annoying, and it does feel like we're sacrificing a little bit here and there for the accelerated season and to, like, wrap things up, but it is nice to see things reach a point of catharsis. It's nice to see Daenerys and Jon Snow and Daenerys feel empathetic for Jon Snow and say, I will pledge to you, and then Jon Snow says, I will kneel to you. That was a great earned character moment, given the fact that Daenerys didn't believe in anything, but Jon Snow didn't believe in Daenerys, but they both, Daenerys finally gets to see, like, exactly what Jon Snow is afraid of and what he's, the great threat that, like, lies to the kingdom. And Jon Snow gets to see that Daenerys, is a person who will, be a person of action. The fact that she actually came to save them on her fucking dragons, shows that she's a ruler that he can believe in. And, they need those dragons to fight the Night's King, as long as the Night's King, doesn't have too many more of those fucking homing icicles. Although that didn't seem like the most difficult thing to dodge. Like, if the dragon wasn't dumb and probably could have, like, flew a little bit higher and avoided it. Because, like, I'm gonna toss my spear at you. I'm gonna toss my spear at you. Does not seem like the most reliable way to murder a dragon. And, it does feel like the Night's King was a little less fearsome than he's been, given the fact that, like, is that all the undead army? Does he have more undead army? Well, what exactly are the White Walkers doing when they have no one to kill, and they're just kind of, like, walking around, like, when they ambush that one White Walker? And it's also kind of funny, like, there's someone who, like, posted on Twitter that saw, like, what's the point of, like, showing Cersei that the undead exist when she has an undead zombie as her personal bodyguard? But who knows, maybe she's dumb and she just doesn't really care. She just likes the fact that she has a fucking zombie. She just has a strong bodyguard and doesn't realize it's an undead monstrosity. So again, thank you for, watching this review. Like, comment, subscribe. Next, in a few days we'll have the big finale, and I'll probably be late with that one as well. But yeah, I like making these. I like watching it. Big update. I finally put the finishing touches on my next big video essay, Max Landis. It's basically called In Defense of Max Landis. I'll be posting it probably after I do all the reviews. as soon as those are all up, I'll probably post it either Sunday or Monday. Probably Sunday. I'm going to try and get it up as soon as possible, as soon as, like, all the, manga review stuff is over. So look up for that. Of course, I'll put, like, a link down below for either, like, the Night's King or the Viserion, who's the dragon who died. Go buy that merchandise or buy something else you actually do want, because that helps support the channel and gives me some cash. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for listening to my rambling thoughts on Game of Thrones. And remember, lobsters and tennis, don't you grab it.
Magnet in my